Hello, welcome everybody to EL121. This is the short story and essay writing. This is the promised video that I told you about. Okay, so I am a little bit sick, so please bear with me, but I hope this is going to be a successful presentation. I hope you will going to understand what I am or what we expecting from this book. All right, so let's move on. So as you know, you have 4 books. The first one is the course guide. I encourage you to read it. If you don't want to read it, just skim it. This is just going to help you to understand the overview or the general idea about this interesting course. Book 2 is probably or for sure it is the most important book that you need to make it your friend, right? Book 2 is the introduction to the short story. Book 3 is the introduction to essay writing. I think most of you were with me in EL117, the writing class. Do you remember that interesting writing class? Many things from that class are applicable to book 3. All right, book 4 is the workbook. It is good that you practice by yourself, but I am really going to focus on this one, on book number 2, the introduction to the short story. Why? Because the exams are going to be from this. Some questions are going to be from the introduction to essay writing, so you should be ready. You should read it. You should understand it. I think when you read and understand, you will be fine. Last semester, the first quiz, all the questions were from here. In the final, all the questions also were from here, but 2 questions were from this book. When we get to the final, I will explain to you more. I will tell you what's important, what's not. Okay. For now, let's just focus on book number 2. Okay, let's move on. All right, now please get the book, make the book next to you. So open the book. Let's go to page number 6. Now, do you see in the middle of that page, we see the 5 elements of the short story. Basically, this is the book. First thing that you see in the book there, which is number 2, is the setting. So when we read a short story, we need to analyze the setting, right? Basically, chapter 2 is going to be about setting. That's it. Just the setting, right? We're just going to study the setting. How do we understand, or how do we analyze the short story based on setting, right? So what does it mean, a setting? That's what is going to understand. Let me go back a little bit. Actually, this course is they just want you to understand how to analyze a story. That's it. The book wants to help you to understand how to understand a short story. That's it. So basically, the first step is they want you to understand a setting from the short story. So when you read a short story, they want you to think, oh, is this short story in a house? No. It's just in the room. Oh no, the short story is in the desert, or the short story in the garden. So they want you to think about those, because these things are going to help you to understand and analyze the short story, right? I will talk about that more. Second thing is the plot. Basically, the plot is the story, what happens in the story, right? Now, third thing is the characters, right? If you see them in the book on page 6, characters who are in the short story, who is the main character, who is the protagonist and antagonist, who is the hero, who is the evil, right? We will study those, and then the point of view, right? We will look at that as well. What I like the most from the short stories and novel, the theme. That is what makes every short story interesting and fun. Theme is the goal of the short story, the lesson that you get from the short story. I love this. This is what makes you think, right? And the goal of short stories and novels is to help us to think. Okay, let's move on. So the questions on page 7 basically helps you analyze the short story. For example, when you hear a short story, you should ask yourself these kind of questions. Who is telling the story? Why is he telling the story, right? What is the goal? To whom is the story being told? Who is the audience? What is the point of the story? Because, as I said, someone told that story because he had something to tell you. He wants to influence you on something, right? Because this short story used to be the media among people, right? Now at the bottom of the page, on page 7 again, this is a definition of a short, or one definition to the short story, right? From Encyclopedia of Literature. Brief fictional prose narrative to be distinguished from longer narrative forms such as the novel. Short story is usually concerned with a single effect conveyed, a single significant episode or scene, right? Read it, try to understand what's going on this definition. Also, there are some definitions, right? Look at them if you want. Now let's move on to the next slide. Let's go to page 8 now. Literary genres, right? This is just to help you understand that in literary, or a literary genre is a literary form, type, or category, right? So when you see words, or let's say if someone wants to send a message, he has an idea that he wants to help the people, right? He pick the genre, the type of writing that he wants to send, right? So the author could say that I want to send my message, for example, through fictional ideas, through fiction, right? So fiction basically means it's not real, just imaginary, right? Non-fiction, that means for real, like he has real story and he tells you the real story and send a message behind that, right? Here in this book, in our book, we are going to deal with fiction, the non-real stories based on our imagination, right? This is our genre, fiction. But as you know, there are many others. For example, drama, right? I'm sure you watch a lot of movies, some of them based on a drama, right? This is a genre. It is very interesting, right? Poetry, some of them write some poetry. I know some of you write, some of you are really great writers. They write poems, right? Some of you have told me before that I wish I could see some of you writing, right? Some of you are great in this type of genre. But we are going to focus on this in our class, fiction. And you should know fiction is what? It is based on the imagination rather than factual events. And behind that, there is a lesson that we are going to analyze and understand. Cool, let's move on. Now at the bottom of page 8, there is the characteristics of the short story. As I said, again, this is the book. This is going to be our book. Everything that we are going to do in this class about characteristics of a short stories, about the 5 elements, right? So the first thing in the 5 elements, which is that we are going to study in chapter or in unit 2, is the setting. If you see at the top of page 9, setting refers to the time and place of the event of the story. Setting, for example, can be outdoors with a concentration on landscape, indoor in kitchen or sitting room, at home or at work, during the day or night, in summer or winter, and in the past, present or future, right? So when you read a short story, you should understand where is the actions of the short story takes place. Where is it? Is it in Saudi Arabia? If you look here, let's take a look at our, for example, here at our picture here. You should ask yourself, where is the place? What is the weather? Right? Is it cold? Is it winter? Summer? Where is the culture? The mood of the characters? The year, for example, if that's present. Time of the day, historical era, countries, all of these, we call them setting, right? When we understand those, that means we have a chance that we can analyze the short story. Are we good on that? Read the setting on page 9. Okay, let's see the plot. Now, with the plot on page 9, I am just, in my presentation, I'm just giving you a page number and a picture, right? And I am explaining, and I'm just telling you, go to the book. Because at this level, you should be a friend with your book. The book, you should understand the book. You should be able to read a book and analyze it. And I have another presentation that has everything, that has explanation of everything. And if you want that presentation, I can email it to you, okay? But this is my way. I like to be focused. I want you to get what I said and go back to the book and read it. And this is the way of education that we are doing in the AOU, right? Now, on page 9, the plot. Plot basically is the story. What happens in the story? Basically, what happens at the beginning, what happens in the middle, the climax, the turning point. The most important thing there in the story? Did they fight? When they fight, what happened? This is the turning point here, the peak point, the climax, right? Now, following action toward the end, right? What happened toward the end? And here, resolution is the end of the story. We call that a plot, right? So when we read a story, we should start here, right? Exposition. Exposition, beginning of the short story where characters and setting are introduced. So the author will tell us, is this a morning? Is this the night? Is it winter? Is it in Saudi Arabia? No, it is in America, or it is in Britain, right? So this is at the beginning, usually at the beginning, right? Here, rising action, where the main character faces a series of conflicts, right? And then, as the story goes on, we reach the turning point, the climax, the most exciting part of the story, when we learn the outcomes, right? For example, in our short story, Jack and the Beanstalk, when Jack meet that ghost, right? This is the climax in that short story. Now, following action, events leading to the end of the story, right? Now we are going toward the end. Now, resolution, it's the end of the story. For example, in Jack, when Jack and Beanstalk, when he killed that ghost, right? This is the end of the story. After when we finished, we understand the plot. When we understand the plot, we understand the story. We're going to take that in Unit 3. So this is just an introduction to that chapter. Let's move on to the character. So in this element, the third element, character, this refers to the main person or persons who act in the story. The most important character in the short stories is the protagonist and antagonist. You should memorize these. You should understand them. You should know them, right? The protagonist is the main character. In Jack and Beanstalk, Jack was the protagonist, right? He was the main character. The antagonist is the person who opposed the protagonist. We can call that the evil or the bad boy, right? In the Jack and Beanstalk, the ghost was the antagonist, right? So when we understand the characters, we know who is the hero, who is the evil, right? And this is another element that will lead to understanding the short story. If you move on to page 10 at the top, a character is revealed by physical appearance. So in the short story, when we read it, we might read that he is big, he is a small guy, he is, right, physical appearance. We get a sense of what he or she thinks, right? Because we know as we read about him or about her and what he does, like Jack, right? What he does, he wants to sell the cow, right? So all of these will help us understand the characters. So keep them in mind. Now, let's move on to the point of view. All of these will understand them in depth. Is just introduction to help you understand the course. Point of view could be a little bit confusing at the beginning, but we will see that on Unit 5, right? So point of view is just the angle from which a story is told. So sometimes in the short story on page 10, you will see that this short story is being told from the first person point of view. So that means when you read the short story, you will hear or you will read that the author says I, right? So for example, I went to the market and I saw the ghost and I killed him. When you read, you're reading I. That means the point of view, the angle of which a story is told. But sometimes you read a short story based on third-person point of view or omniscient narrators, that which tells everything about all characters in that short story. We'll see that on Unit 5. This could be. I don't want you to think about this now. Let's just wait until Unit 5. Now let's go to the last element, which is the theme. Now we're getting to the most important and the last part of the 5 elements of a short story, which is the theme. Now the theme is basically the main idea. It is on page 10, right? It is the main idea or the lesson. If you look at the picture here, there is a message or there is a letter, but it is inside this bottle, right? So that is basically, this is the short story, and there is a lesson inside. There is a message inside. Our job is to find that message, right? What the author wants us to learn. What is the broader idea maybe about life? The author wants us maybe to understand something about this life, right? Usually it is inferred, it's not stated. Our job is to find out. I want here in the theme, I want to stop and tell you something. What makes a short story or what makes novel very interesting is when every student come to class and he or she understands this short story different than other, right? I don't want you just to read the book, to read the theme, and tells me, oh, I read the short story and I read the book's theme and I think this is the theme. No, I want it based on your understanding. I want you to bring something new to the class, to our conversation in our class. So this is an encouragement to you. When we read a short story, when it is time for your presentation, tell us, what did you understand? And it is for everybody. Tell us, what did you understand from this short story? And believe me, everybody has a different idea. Everybody has a different theme, right? And if I ask you in the exam, final exam, or in any exam, right, in this class, I ask you about theme, you can write about your own theme. It doesn't have to be from the book. It could be from your understanding. And yes, you could make it a full credit, but your writing has to be good though, right? Now I think I have something to tell you. One more slide. Now, if you go to page 11, you will see a Jack and Beanstalk short story, right? I know it could be hard for you to understand, but this is a link for the video that you can watch and understand that short story. And please note that some of the when you watch a video, sometimes the video is a little bit different than what we have in the book, but that's fine. At least you get the general idea. If you think reading the short story is hard, watch a video. Just watch a video, and that will going to help you to understand or get broader meaning, and then come back to the short story from in the book and read it. Even if you don't understand, continue reading. In the exam, they will pick, one text part of this short story, and they will test you. They want to know, did you read it or not? Very important that you read it, right, and try to understand. Now, most important thing for me also, you go to page 18. There is a part, page 18, I will write it here, 18, 8, right? There is a part there, discussion questions, part 3.3, right? These are the questions. In the exam, the examiner will ask you one of these questions, right? So in the last semester, first question was in the first quiz, I think, and the second one was in the final exam. Third one, I think, also was in the final exam. So they are very important that you read them and read the discussion, try to understand. Again, discussion means based on your understanding, based on what you understand from the book and what you understand it. You don't have to memorize this. This is just, it is a bad idea that you say, I want to memorize this. You should go to every question and try to understand the discussion in the book, okay? And you can add something as well based on your understanding. So you are a thinker. I respect your thinking. So you could come to the exam and writing something based on your ideas. I remember in last class or last semester, there were one student that she always write to me based on her understanding, and she got A. She really, believe me, she got an A. But she reads the book and brings in the exam, she brings something from the book and she brings something from her ideas, right? So I encourage you to understand the book, and also you can get something based on your understanding. Let's move to the next. Now in the next class, you should read, for sure you should finish Jack and Beanstalk. Now I'm talking about the next lecture, right? The next unit. So you should read To Build a Fire on page 27. It's about setting. This is a short story that describes setting differently, right? Before you come to class, you have to read it. You have to watch a video, right? I stated here. Watch a video before you read if you think it is hard to understand. The video will help you. Remember, each class I will give you a short quiz, just to know if you understand or not. Or, I mean, did you read or not, right? So you should be able to read and get a broader meaning of that short story. So we are done with the first unit. Go back and read Jack and Beanstalk. Go back and read the discussion questions. Try to understand them. We just want to finish this and move on. For those of you who are going to present next week, I'm going to email each one of you what he needs to do, right? And then we are going to start the next unit. Okay, last semester, Unit 1 and Unit 2 were in the exam, or I mean the first quiz. We'll see this semester what they are going to give you in the first quiz, but I will update you for sure. See you next week and enjoy the rest of your day. Bye-bye.